But as the years have gone by, you've probably realized that you are not one of those genetic outliers who can grow massive arms out of more intense compound lifts. At this juncture, you should consider the following. Yo, what's a crack? In today's video, I'm going to show you a bunch of different methods on how to add girth to your arms. Most of these techniques could be applied to the two main muscle groups around the humerus bone, which are the biceps and the triceps. However, in today's video, I'm only going to showcase exercises that target the latter. This is so because of three main reasons. 1. The triceps takes up 2/3 of your arm mass. Therefore, this muscle takes precedence when it comes to filling up your sleeves as effectively as possible. 2. The triceps are more resilient than the biceps, so they can be subject to a higher frequency of training as well as more punishing techniques. And 3. I want this video to be short and sweet. The first section of this video doesn't technically discuss high-effort techniques, but it is meant to serve as a reminder as to which factors are more likely to create the best environment for your arms to grow. This is in the context of a lifter consistently completing a well-thought-out resistance training program that progressively gets harder over time while he puts himself in a caloric surplus to go up in weight. Without this trifecta of factors, none of the things I'm about to discuss will work as much, or in some cases might not work at all. Any good resistance training program should be built around a few time-tested lifts. These are typically multi-joint exercises that engage a big chunk of muscle mass, and they could be progressively overloaded. But given that we are seeking to grow beefier triceratops, our exercise selection should reflect this preference. Thus, it would make a great deal of sense to pick the close grip bench press over the classic variation. The weighted dip could also be included as the other main pressing lift, or even a close grip push-up if you are leaning more towards calisthenics and you don't have access to a gym. Sure, the triceps are also going to be involved in other push-type movements, but the three I suggest heavily favor the contribution of the triceps. Getting stronger at any of these lifts is going to set you up for success at a base level. For those of you who just started training or those who have been training for some time but haven't seen visible results yet, my message is the following. Perform the main pressing lifts at least twice per week and pick an isolation exercise to finish off your triceps at the end of each workout. Cable-based movements are beginner-friendly options that allow you to dig deeper into higher levels of muscular fatigue. The overall goal at this stage should be to practice the main compound lifts while progress them almost linearly while acquiring the skill of identifying and then reaching true muscular failure during isolation exercises. Those lifters who have been going to the gym for a while but are still beginners, I'd say this. Follow the exact same advice I just gave to absolute beginners in terms of training, but feel free to train your triceps with close grip push-ups at home once per week. Now I'm going to be talking to those late beginners to intermediate lifters out there. Let's keep it real. Folks on the street have already been noticing your gains because you've built a solid foundation over a couple of years. But as the years have gone by, you've probably realized that you are not one of those genetic outliers who can grow massive arms out of more intense compound lifts. It is high time for you to graduate out of this beginner mindset. At this juncture, you should consider the following. An arm day is honestly the best way to expedite your gains in that area of your body. If growing bigger arms is a true priority of yours, you could either add an extra day of training to work this specific body part, or you could recalibrate your current training split without adding a session. Another smart step towards beefier looking arms would be to bring whatever triceps or biceps exercise to the very beginning of your training session. Yes, this means that you might experience a drop in performance in subsequent sets during compound lifts, but who cares? Honestly, losing a couple of reps here or a few pounds there might be a worthwhile trade-off if you're able to train your elbow flexors and extensors to their maximum capacity when you have the most energy. This readjustment in exercise order is definitely more effective than leaving your arm work for the end of your workout when you've accumulated a great deal of fatigue as a result of heavy-duty lifts. The cherry on top for intermediate lifters looking to add mass to their arms should be the implementation of techniques that require high intensity of effort. In the following minutes, I'll be touching upon some of them while I show you on the screen what these look like in the real world, at the gym. A drop set is a set of a given exercise taken to muscular failure that is immediately followed by another set of the same exercise with less resistance taken to muscular failure again. A regular drop set would typically consist of 2 to 3 sets performed one right after the other. An example would be to complete as many reps as possible of tricep pushdowns with 25 kg, followed by another AMRAP set with 20 kg and a closing set with 15 kg. The whole purpose here is to reach failure to the point where you can no longer overcome the resistance. Once you reach that threshold, you extend the set in a yielding capacity only. Here, the goal is to resist the descent of the weight. In the example you see on the screen, I first fatigue my triceps with dumbbell skull crushers, and then I proceed to bring in new and fresh muscle mass so that I can put the weight back up into the top position. From there, I continue to strain myself in the following reps in an attempt to control the descent of the dumbbells until it becomes clearly apparent that I can't physically do it anymore. The third type of technique I'd like to share with you is the so-called rest pause. This is a method whereby you reach muscular failure in a set on a given lift, then you rest briefly for 10 to 15 seconds and continue to add reps. You could repeat this process for as many rounds as you like. Given how short the rest periods are, you'll only be able to squeeze in a couple of extra reps after the first opening set due to high levels of muscular fatigue. However, this is not a problem when it comes to hypertrophy, simply because every single mini set after a quick pause would recruit the highest threshold motor units in your muscles almost from the get-go. This is a method that is better suited for elbow flexion exercises for the most part. You can either get a partner to spot you, or you could do it yourself if you train only one arm at a time. The whole point is to get an external, tiny assistance at the sticking point of a rep. If that extra boost gets you to complete 2 to 3 extra repetitions, be sure that those are going to be very conducive to muscle hypertrophy. The concept is very similar to the classic drop set, which, as I explained before, it is a set taken to muscular failure that is immediately followed by another set with less resistance taken to muscular failure once again. The only difference between the classic and a mechanical drop set is the implementation. When working with machines, pulleys, or dumbbells, it's very simple to reduce the intensity. Adjust the pin to a lower weight or pick a lighter dumbbell. However, the same cannot be said when using either a barbell or your own body weight. The former requires a change in exercise. For example, one of the most popular mechanical drop sets for triceps would be to punish this muscle group with an isolation lift that overloads elbow extension, like a skull crusher with an easy bar, to then continue working with a multi-joint movement like a close grip bench press. The triceps, although no longer exclusively, are still a main muscle mover in the second exercise, but now you're bringing in mass from the front delts and the chest, so that your triceps could go on for another round despite having reached failure during the prior single joint lift. When you employ bodyweight exercises, you have to play with leverages in order to adjust the intensity. You could reach muscular failure several times with the same exercise by simply assuming a more advantageous position in every subsequent set. If you have access to a rack and a bench, you could perform feet elevated close grip push-ups, followed by regular close grip push-ups on the floor, to then finish off the mechanical drop set with hands elevated close grip push-ups. When it comes to calisthenics, your body position in space determines how much of your own body weight you use as resistance. The last method I'm bringing you today is to simply reach muscular failure with 2 distinct single joint exercises performed back to back that would emphasize different parts of your triceps. I personally enjoy performing light skull crushers after JM press or row pushdowns after heavy skull crushers. This is a safe space to play around with order, intensity, and other variables. All in all, when it comes to mindset, there is no much to it except allowing the bro inside you to take over and go for it. Although I must point out that these kind of supersets are something I would only do after I'm done with the more important triceps-focused sets of compounds and isolation, almost as a finisher. Another combination I've been enjoying a lot lately is one that targets the long head of the triceps. If you've never done dumbbell pullovers followed by overhead rope tricep extensions, go ahead and give this superset a try. An almighty stretch of the long head of the triceps in the first lift, followed by an isolation that preferentially targets the same head. Alright, there's one last thing I'd like to touch upon before we wrap up here. Despite the multitude of options that I've presented to you today, I'd like to stress the importance of focus and consistency. The perfect example of this is the previous video I published discussing my progress on the easy bar preacher curls. Give yourself a couple of months of repeating the same movement pattern at least twice per week. Changing things up is very tempting, especially when the ratio of progress is very slow, which is bound to happen at an intermediate level. It might take you a whole month to add one single repetition to a lift, but that doesn't mean that the 3 weeks leading up to that PR have been for nothing. It only means that new PRs are harder to come by. That's all. Narrow your focus and stick to something for a while. Develop a feel for a given lift that agrees with you and work hard to add one rep at a time. Muscle building shouldn't be that complicated, but both the mental and physical effort required for results are hard indeed. I really hope you found value in today's video. If you did, please check out this other video on how to make your push-ups harder at home. I think you're gonna like it. Please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to click on the bell to get notified every time a new video goes live. Stay fit, stay strong, help me raise an army of Super Saiyans all around the world. Peace.